Hey guys, and now that we're done with the Wave 2 Deluxes from the Transformers Siege line, I thought it was high time that we get into my birthday haul and begin things with what I have in this box, which is the Transformers Selects Deluxe Class Ricochet. And he's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, Transformers, Collectors, NL, and me everywhere. And this is the box that I got for Deluxe Class Ricochet, which is a repaint and a reuse, no remolding, of the Deluxe Class Power of the Primes Jazz, which was a figure that I liked. But you see, I managed to find a Reveal the Shield Jazz for about $1 when I was out thrifting, and I didn't need two Jazzes, so I hemmed and hawed about what I was going to do. Who was I going to keep? And I opted to keep the Reveal the Shield version because I found out that the Power of the Primes mold was going to be repainted into this guy, and I said, hey, there's an opportunity to get the mold because I like it, and to get a character that I never had before, really don't know anything about. So that being said, since we're kind of starting almost from scratch with this guy, let's head over to the table and take a closer look at him. And so here we have the factory sealed mailing box, I suppose you could call it, that houses the, I guess, Power of the Primes. Well, it's not Power of the Primes, it's Transformers Selects Ricochet. And Ricochet in and of himself is kind of an enigma. I mean, G1 Ricochet is actually a Target Master that goes with Quick Mix, but if you go with the Headmaster's continuity, then he is the character Stepper, who was known around the world in many places as Stepper until eventually here in North America became known as Ricochet. It's really mixed up, so whether you want to call him Ricochet or whether you want to call him Stepper, that's up to you, but it is the kind of black and gold and white repaint of Jazz. He's sort of a loner. He doesn't get along well really with others. Well, he has a couple of buddies that he kicks around with, being Blue Streak and Fusion, who I'm not really sure who Fusion is, but I know that there's a story from I don't know if it was a comic or it was his bio in Japan or what it was, but I know that both of those were listed as like friends of his, but usually sort of a loner. His partner that he usually is associated with is the Target Master Nightstick, or sometimes he's just called Nebulon. And to keep things kind of clean and clear, I think Nebulon is probably the best thing to go with, because most of us know Nightstick as the Target Master of Cyclonus. Confused yet? How about we look at this box? It has the Power of the Primes sort of detailing over here. On the top, it doesn't really have much of anything. It has some I guess, Cybertronian, probably Selects, and maybe some Cybertronian over there. Down the side, over here. Cut along the bottom if you want to open them. And when you open them, this is what you have inside. Many people have already seen it. I'm not going to detail it too much. Nice Autobot symbol on the top, top section there. But we have Ricochet in here, along with his little blaster and the Prime Armor. The Prime Armor is the same Prime Armor that came with Punch, Counter Punch, and a couple of other figures, except this time it's in white. His blaster is exactly like Power of the Primes Jazz, except where Jazz's was painted silver, this one is just cast in black. And if you take this guy out of it, and you take his blaster out of it, and his, that's still stuck in there, and his Prime Armor in the plastic, then we have some instructions in there, and that's really about it. Besides that, it's just a box with a black bottom. Now that we're away from that mailing box, and away from me stumbling over whether this is called Power of the Primes Ricochet or Selects Ricochet, let's clarify things with the instructions. It is Power of the Primes Ricochet. And with the beautiful instructions that we've got with the Siege line, this feels like a step backwards because they're not that great. Small pictures, you know, not great. the aforementioned Prime Armor that's exactly like that, which came with Punch, Counter Punch, and a few other figures. I want to say Nova Star and Moonracer. Maybe it was Nova Star and Moonracer. And conspicuous by his absence is the Target Master partner for this guy, who I'm going to call Nebulon. But in place of that, we just have a black version of the blaster that came with Power of the Primes Jazz. Jazz's was nicer. And here he is in vehicle mode. I can't do a side-by-side comparison with Jazz because I sold my Power of the Primes Jazz. But hey, if you want to see what Jazz looks like in vehicle mode, go back and have a look at episode 342. That's where I looked at Jazz. I also showed the conversion there going from robot to each of the limb modes to vehicle mode. This time around, just for interest's sake, I figured we'd start in vehicle mode and work our way back. I guess accessories that he comes with can go attached here. We can, you know, put the, where is it? Like the hand, foot, no, not foot, just the hand blaster or Prime Armor thing there. We can take the blaster and put it like up right there if you think that looks any good. I don't like either of that. You can always take the Prime Armor off altogether and throw it away because it's junk. And you could put this, I guess. I'm pushing everything apart there now. That, I guess, up there. I don't know if that's any better. I don't know. The accessory storage is not the strong point of this guy. No doubt about it. It wasn't the strong point of Jazz either. Get that out. What can I say? I mean, you know, at this point he rolls like a champ. The paint apps, 10. They're beautiful. I mean, his fiction is kind of limited anyway. We have, you know, his bio. I think there might have been like some Japanese comics or like Headmaster's manga, something like that. I think he was mentioned in like Beast Wars Uprising. I think he appeared in comics back in 2005. He might have even been back in the Dreamwave continuity. I think he was in the IDW continuity, like in a few scenes or something like that. But he doesn't have popularized fiction. So 10 for the paint apps. People don't seem to like the yellowy, goldy, mustardy color. I love it. It's so different and off the wall and zany and quirky. I think it's great and it's nice and thickly applied. It's just well done. I love the flame deco on the hood, on the side. I love the look of this dude. Now we can't do the articulation or the transformation yet because we haven't done it. So I backed things up to make sure that we had some room for the first conversion. We'll go to leg mode, then we'll go to arm mode, and finally robot. So for leg mode, we stand the guy up and we'll turn him around, just like this. Pretty simple so far. After we turn him around, I find it's easiest if we kind of open out the arms next because it allows us to pick off the whole kind of roof section a bit easier. There's a white armature in here. We're just angling this down. And we will bring these arms back in on the side, collapse the armature, tab it all in there, and bring up the combiner peg, which, by the way, I think the combiner peg and the tires belong to Combiner Wars drag strip, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, here's leg mode. You have a little section on the bottom that kind of notches down on the like tail fin section. That's what holds it in place. I don't think it's going anywhere anyway. If you put a foot on the bottom of this, you got a leg for a combiner if you want it. That being said, we can also make this into an arm. And yes, I backed things up again to make this guy into an arm, to make sure we had the room to show it. We just bring this combiner peg forward. We bring this whole piece up, and when you bring it up, there's a couple of little notches on the white section here, and they will notch into little sections on the arms by rights. It's trying to find it is the biggest problem. for the record, it is right there. It's that little white tab that goes into that slot on the arm on that side. And you can see it also on that side. So now that we have that solidified, what do we do to finish the arm? Well, we will come down here. We will open these sections and extend the leg and close it up. And open these sections awkwardly, I might add, because they open in, and extend it down and close the leg. We put the two legs together. We swivel at the waist and we bend up, and you could take that prime armor that we had here earlier and put it in the slot right there. Bring this up, I guess. And there you go, you have an arm with a hand, and it's a fine enough arm, I guess. That being said, last but not least, we can take that out of it, straighten up his legs, and split them. We can bring down a foot and bring down a foot. And we can stand the guy up and bring in his combiner peg. Once we have that done, we can open the arms out to the side. We can bring up the, I guess, tab that's on the hood, fold it in, fold that whole thing in and forward, and flip the head out. Bring the whole thing down on the back. We're going to flip this piece down, this hood piece down. When we flip it down, we have a couple of tabs here and here, and they will go into slots just on the side of the combiner peg to hold this guy in place, and or they should hold him in place. And then we straighten down the arm, and we straighten down the arm, and we stand him up, and in the end, boom. Oh, if he wants to stand, hold on. And in the end, boom, here we have Ricochet in his robot mode. And this seems like as good a time as any to show a couple of size comparisons here. Here he is with the Reveal the Shield Jazz, who is now my Jazz, and the more recent Siege Wave 2 Ironhide. And I like the robot mode. It's great. Just like with Jazz, you can take the Prime Armor, and there's like tabs on the, where is it? Like next to the little yellow vent intakes, and you can like attach this on the front, and it looks ridiculous and awful, so I'm not actually going to do it. He can of course hold his blaster in his hand, or he can have it on his forearm over here, or if you're so inclined, you could put it just back here. My intention is probably to get rid of this, maybe get a Siege Battlemaster and customize it and put it there as like Nebulon, giving him like that life support stuff he's supposed to kind of do. Yes, it's not up on his shoulder, but whatever, man. At least he would have his Target Master partner. And since we don't have any Autobot Target Masters, really, why not? He looks good. In terms of, like I said, the paint apps, they're 10 in terms of the articulation. Well, he has the same as Jazz. We have a head that goes left and right. It can look up and down just slightly. The arms go all the way around, go out on a hinge. This one here is, yeah, some mold degradation. This one over here, not so bad. This one here is, yeah, some mold degradation there on that one. We have a ball joint for an elbow, and well, sorry, for a bicep swivel and for the elbow. 90 degrees at the elbow. We have wrist swivel, but there's car parts behind it, so it's not really effective. Not unless you've got the blaster in there to turn his hand. Why you'd want to turn his hand, I'm not really sure. He has a waist. That's nice. Getting these out of the way. He has hips out to the side, forward. If you get the roof of the vehicle out of the way, all the way back. Turn that down. We have a thigh swivel, we have 90 degrees at the elbow, and we even have toe tilt. He has a lot. I said that Jazz had articulation of about 8.5. This guy is more like an 8 because there was mold degradation, maybe even a 7. There's mold degradation here on this shoulder on mine, and there was mold degradation on one of the hips. I fixed it by adding to the hip with some Bondic, and that seemed to really help the solidity of it. Of course, you could do the like floor polish fix or whatever works for you, but hopefully you'll avoid it altogether. Nevertheless, because there are tolerance issues and what seems to be some mold degradation, I have to mark it down. I am going to say that I understand if it's as low as, say, a 7, but I'm going to mark it as an 8. So we have a 10, we have an 8. Right now the guy's getting a 9. In terms of the transformation, it was an 8 on Jazz. It's an 8 on this guy. I said overall Jazz was an 8. I'm going to say the same thing here. Overall, this guy is still an 8. That being said, because you might encounter some of the mold degradation issues, let's be fair. Let's say that that's something that is more than possible, because I've heard of it now a few times, not just with me. I'm going to say overall Ricochet is about a 7. Is he someone that you really need to track down? Probably not. That being said, I also want to give this guy a guilty or innocent verdict, because I did not pay a Power of the Primes price for this guy. I did not pay the going rate at the time of $19.99. No, I paid the siege rate of $29.99. Is this guy worth a $10 price point increase? No, he is exactly like Jazz. No, there was nothing that warranted that at all. Definitely do not pay anything higher than the kind of going retail asking price. You know, definitely don't pay like scalper prices or anything like that. If you can find him for cheaper, get him for cheaper. I'm glad to have him because I like the mold, but I wish he was a little more perfect than what he actually is. And here we have Ricochet, although we unfortunately do not have Nebulon or Nightstick, depending on the fiction that you follow. Even the name Ricochet, I mean, he might be steppery, you know? But I'm going to go with Ricochet because that's what they call the guy. Here's the thing. I like that Power of the Primes mold. Now, I said whether or not this guy was also guilty or innocent because I didn't pay a Power of the Primes price for him. I paid a siege price, and I don't think he's worth a siege price. Unless you really like the box, or, you know, he had that markup because he's an online exclusive or whatever. But at the end of the day, I paid 20 bucks Canadian for my Power of the Primes Jazz, and I should have had to pay 20 bucks for his repaint. I paid 30. He didn't come with anything extra. I didn't need prime armor. It would have been nice if they had included some version of a Battle Master, actually, to serve as his Target Master. And I may pick up a Battle Master and put it in the back here. I know it's not up on his shoulder, but it could still go plugged in as his life support system. A lot of people have complained about the yellow, the gold, the mustardy yellow. I dig it. It's on thick. Yellow's a hard color to do. I like it. I like the look of it. It's different. It's unique. I like the mold, but it has also undergone some degradation. This hip over here I had to fix. Now that hip works better than the stock one that was already alright. Then we come to the arms, and this one over here works fine, but this one here is, just saying, this one's not that great. I have fixed it. I'm probably going to have to do more work with it, maybe. I like the look of it. It's as functional as Jazz, but like I said, I think it's a little bit of degradation because the tolerances are a little bit off. Anyway, I'm glad to have a version of Jazz that I like, being the Reveal the Shield, and I'm glad to have a version of Ricochet. Although, the funny part is, there are a lot of people that I've heard of who like the Reveal the Shield mold for Ricochet and like the Power of the Primes mold for Jazz. You know, to each their own. I like both molds. I got both molds. I'm a happy camper, even if I did probably pay a few dollars more than I actually wanted to.
Certainly wouldn't pay scalper prices for it. Let me know if you got Ricochet or some other version of the character, what you think of him, if you knew anything about him. You know I love to hear from you guys. As always, I'm going to say please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out so very much. Thank you for giving me some of your extremely valuable time, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.